Welcome back to Kim Reads. Chapter 6 of Pinocchio, The Fairy and the All-Knowing Nose. It was a good thing for a certain dangling puppet that, just at that moment, the pale and kind fairy happened to look out her window again. Filled with pity at seeing Pinocchio hanging from a tree, she clapped her hands together sharply 3 times and summoned her friend, a large falcon. "Please go and break the rope that binds the poor puppet," she said. "Then lay him gently down on the grass." Once Pinocchio was safely lying on the ground, Fairy clapped her hands twice more. A magnificent poodle appeared, walking on his hind legs and draped in silk and velvet. "Poodle," Fairy said, "please go to your poor lying puppet in the grass, lift him tenderly, and bring him back here to me." The poodle agreed, but instead of trotting over like a regular dog, he took Fairy's coach. The coach's lining was as soft as whipped cream and chocolate pudding, and it was pulled by 100 pairs of perfect white mice. When Pinocchio reached the house, Fairy gently laid him under a soft white sheet. To make sure he was all right, Fairy called some of the country's most famous doctors, which include the crow, the owl, and the cricket, to come and look at the puppet. Feeling Pinocchio's pulse, his nose, and his little wooden toe, Dr. Crow concluded that the poor puppet was dead. Unless, that is, he is not dead, in which he is almost certainly alive. "I am sorry to contradict my very famous colleague," said Dr. Owl, "but I would have to say this puppet alive. Unless he is not alive, and in any case, which he is definitely dead." "And what about you, Dr. Cricket?" Fairy asked. Cricket replied that the wisest doctors, when they didn't know what they were talking about, should keep their mouths shut. "But I do know this puppet," Cricket said. "And dead or alive, in my medical opinion, he was a rascal of the very worst kind." "What do you mean?" Fairy asked. "He is a disobedient son who is always breaking his poor father's heart." Under the white sheet, Pinocchio heard those words and, very much alive, began to cry. After the doctors left, Fairy noticed that Pinocchio had a terrible fever. She tried to give him some aspirin. "Yuck!" the puppet said. "That medicine is bitter. I would like some sugar instead." "You can have some sugar afterward," Fairy said. "No, before." "Do you promise to take your medicine if I give you the sugar first?" Fairy asked. Pinocchio promised, but he was lying. Even though Fairy gave him some sugar, he still would not take his medicine. "You must take your medicine or you could die," Fairy cried. "I don't care. I would rather die than taste that awful medicine," Pinocchio said. At those words, 4 black rabbits burst into the room carrying a small black coffin on their shoulders. "We heard you were ready to die," the largest rabbit said. "We have come here for you." "But I'm not dead yet," Pinocchio cried. "You will be in just a few minutes if you don't take your medicine." Pinocchio swallowed his medicine in one quick gulp. Almost immediately he felt good as new. He had to admit, when one is sick, even bitter medicine is a very sweet thing. Then Fairy asked Pinocchio to tell her how he got mixed up with the muggers. "Where are the gold pieces now?" Fairy asked, when he had finished his story. "I lost them," answered Pinocchio, but he was lying again. The pieces were in his pocket. As he spoke, something interesting happened. His nose grew 2 inches. "Where did you lose them?" Fairy asked. "In the woods," Pinocchio said, lying again, and once you noted, his nose promptly grew 2 inches longer still. "I mean, I did not lose them," he stuttered. "I swallowed them when I took the medicine." At this third lie, Pinocchio's nose grew so long that he could not even turn around. If he turned to the right, he banged on the bed or the windows. To the left, he hit the walls or the door. If he raised his nose, he would poke Fairy's eyes out. Like most liars, he was stuck. Why can't he just tell her they're in his pocket? I mean, he didn't need to lie about it. Watching him struggle, Fairy laughed. "Why are you laughing?" he asked. "I am laughing at your lies," she said. "How do you know I'm lying?" And then Fairy explained that there were 2 kinds of lies, those with short legs and those with long noses. It was quite clear which kind he had told. Pinocchio was so ashamed he wanted to run away, but his nose was so long he could not fit through the door. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. See you later.